Blog Talk Radio.
Hey guys, this is Those Guys with your host, Matt Marrero, along with your other host.
Sister Shram, good evening.
Yes, and today we're talking about Gravity Falls, episode 13.
Well, season 2, episode 13, right?
What?
Season 2, episode 13, right?
Yeah. So episode 13 in the end.
Woo.
And what are we talking about? Dungeons, and more dungeons.
I guess that works as a grammatical statement. But
Wait, that was the name of the episode, right? Or am I wrong?
yes, yeah, Dungeons, and more dungeons. I think the short amended version on my TV is just Dungeons, and I was like, well, thanks. I assume that gets the point across. But the correct name is Dungeons, and more dungeons.
Right. And so I was a huge fan of this episode. I don't know if anyone else wasn't, because I know you know more about the fan communities online than I do. But I think this episode should be praised for many reasons. But how did you know how anyone else reacted to it? Because I can understand how some people...
I think it was generally favorable. I think some people were... based on what we've been getting for a while, this was a departure to, in a way, filler. In a way.
I mean, it was in a way.
So I think there might have been some general disappointment in the sense of, this is, the more filler-heavy episode, the most filler-heavy episode we've had in a while. That being said, I think the general consensus was that this was a lot of fun. I thought it was a lot of fun.
All right, I only ask because, I know how you thought about it, what you thought about it. And the way I feel is I really think that while I understand, there wasn't a lot of quote-unquote plot, the idea of, the end game coming up and things like that. But, I mean, I feel like at some point you really do have to look at these characters and think we need to develop them even more. And by introducing that new character, Ford, you really need to kind of have, interactions there. Because if you don't, I mean, look, I understand how in movies it's really hard. You have to build up some, people up, but it's really hard sometimes in action movies. It may just be really one scene or one line and then just straight into action, right? And I understand.
Having Ford here is really significant. I mean, he lives in the freaking basement. So at some point there's got to be interactions with him.
Yeah, it can't just be each and every episode, and then Bill appears, and then this happens, and then, oh, my God. Because if you do, it's just, it's going to... I mean, look, even if this is their last season and they know it, still, it's a lot better because you have a show, right? Because this is a series. It is a lot easier to, have these episodes where, yes, technically the plot is filler, but the interactions the characters have aren't. And by the end of the show, you're going to feel like they're a family, either a family that fights or a family that at the end of the day gets together and starts to know each other more and they're really able to kind of rally themselves together rather than just, kind of just it was, it's, either you get, man, it's slow, but there's a lot of character progression, or it was just one action scene after another and it didn't feel like I actually know any of the characters at the end of the day. I know that can be a happy medium, but honestly, if these were airing on a weekly basis, I think that's, I really think the schedule is really what hurts us, because I think if it was airing on a weekly basis, I'd feel angry. I'd be like, hey, well, what, next week we're going to get another one, and that one will have action or something. But I understand for some, because we only get them on a monthly basis, sometimes even longer, usually even longer. So
yeah, I mean, I think we've got another one coming in 2 weeks. And
which is Christmas.
Yeah, because, I mean, based on where we are right now, and in terms of actually in Earth, not our podcast schedule, necessarily, we are in August. We're doing this episode at the end of August here. And so we just got the episode after Dungeons, and more dungeons. And then we've got this next one coming up. So I think it's fun to get... I mean, the thing about Gravity Falls, and in Extensive Steven Universe, we've talked about this a lot, is that they have this great ability to make the filler not seem like filler. And that being said, it's not like Gravity Falls didn't include some stuff in here that we can sit there and be like, okay, wait, because at the end, But it was enough of filler that you can qualify it as filler, and yet it was still really, really fun because, like you said, character development, just the idea of, making this realm, I guess, there for I don't know what the words I'm trying to say, but the idea of, like, accessible, like, understandable to people who are watching. We know every character who's in it. We know what's going on. And we get attached to these characters because of that. And I like that a lot.
Yeah, no, I mean, well-rounded is what you're thinking of. And, yeah, because, just bringing it up to Steven Universe, real quick, because I do think that there are a lot of similarities between the both of them. The idea that, and let's say at the end of season 1, right? Actually, was it? No, not in the full. I'll say this much: at larger, like at parts that involve the town in danger, right? Because it can happen at many points. But whenever they feel more, like either mid-season finale or season finale, and it's like, oh no, like the entire, like everyone there is in danger. If you do skip around and you don't really watch those episodes, that they may not include plot, may not be plot heavy, but they'll focus on a specific character. When you and I watch, and when anyone watches through the entire thing, I feel as if when you look at it, you're looking at it and going, oh no, the people that I know and love, or hate even, right? If you really want to sit there and go, I hate pretty much all these people, but maybe you want the town to burn. The idea is it's an investment, right, that you have into these characters. You're invested there, like Duck-tective.
Duck-tective, I think, was one of the funnier parts of this episode, because of them mocking themselves and us. And they're not adverse to doing that. We know that they'll do it. Like, in the Tale of Two Stands, the episode that got right after we got the mid-season finale. And Zeus just like, this better align exactly with my fanfic, Stan. And stuff like that, where I'm like, this is kind of fun. I appreciate that kind of humor. Because I don't take it as like some kind of slight on us. They're just aware.
I think it's them showing how aware they are, but not in a way where I don't think we should be able to sit there and go, oh, no, we should actually be really happy because, I know a lot of people don't share our interests, but I think with all these things that we are interested in and we do podcast about, sometimes it does feel like in other areas, that we podcast about, it's like, the creators can sometimes be aware but not fully aware, or they take they look at social media and they take what some people say as fact over the real criticism, let's say. In other words, basically believing troll, like saying, thinking that, oh, the internet's filled with trolls. And it's like, yes, it is, but there's also some good, there's actually some good people on there, right? Things like that, So my point is that I like that here at Into the Universe, you can tell that it's a younger crowd and they know what they're doing. And, look at some of the references in this episode of Gravity Falls. And I really liked how they all came together in a way that made you sit there and go, wow, they really tried to tackle people who like Dungeons and Dragons, who played Legend of Zelda, right, who watch this show, who have been watching this show ever since the first episode, right? They're really trying to hit everyone they can, and I really enjoyed it because even though I've only played D&D a total of one time, it still was funny to me because I understood it, based on what I know a lot of people help. Tristan Walter, one of our co-hosts, he plays D&D a lot. So, sadly, I didn't get to show this episode to him. I showed him the Navi part, but we were busy filming something else at the time. But if I had the time, I would have showed him the entire episode, and I'm sure he would have loved it, because he's a huge D&D fan.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, excuse me. It was a lot of entertainment in this episode in terms of the little references. So we had stuff from 4 that was fun. We had the D&D references. We had, as you mentioned, Legend of Zelda references. Duck-tective making fun of the show itself. And then we had also really subtle and important development between Dipper and Ford, and then Dipper and Mabel, even Dipper and Stan in a way. But the idea, they've been really hinting at this Dipper-Mabel, slow breakup thing. Mm-hmm. And I use breakup, I'm not trying to promote any kind of crazy, pine cest thing. I'm just using that for the sense of, the sibling friendship here. But they've been really pushing at it since Stanford's appearance, the real Stanford. And I really enjoy that at the same time because it's going to hurt if it happens, and I have to respect them for that.
Yeah.
Because,
it might never happen.
Right, it might not.
It might never happen in the show itself, but I think it's out there to kind of, because, you might sit there as an adult and go, man, I should call my sibling, right? And then the kid sitting there like, is this going to happen to me and my sibling? It says it's another kind of terror that's there underneath the surface that has nothing to do with the scary monsters.
Yeah, and what's significant about it to me, too, is that they're only focusing in on Mabel's side of it because it seems like Dipper's oblivious to it. And I think that's really interesting. Because the two significant interests, he's the logical one. He's not really emotionally involved, I'll say. So, like, Mabel, like, I think it would hurt her more than Dipper. And it would hurt Dipper a lot, too. But also they're focusing in here and trying to key to me that, you know, Mabel's aware of the fact that, like, okay, they are growing apart a little bit. Now, this could turn into a cute little plot point where they kind of, like, acknowledge this and they kind of tackle it. But the two instances we've had of mentioning it is Dipper, you know, brushing it off and then Mabel laying awake while he falls asleep. And then here we have her, again, like, going to sleep and looking stressed out about it. And Dipper being oblivious.
Yeah. I think you might find this a little interesting. The fact that you mentioned, you're like, oh, yeah, Mabel's the emotional one. And yet she's the one that actually, you know, and personality-wise, clings towards Grunkle Stan a bit more, which is what's funny about it, because even though Grunkle Stan's this, you know, this whole, like, you know, I'm a man, you know, I don't cry, I beat people up. And he does do those things. And he is a man. But still, the idea is that he has these feelings as well that he's just not showing.
Yeah, I mean, he is it's funny, Stan Lee, more of a hothead. But he is emotional. He's very emotional. I mean, and arguably, you look at it, he went through all this turmoil to save his brother because of love. You know, like, so definitely the parallels are there between, we've got Stanley and Mabel, and Stanford and Dipper.
Which is funny. I never would have thought of that, right? Like, you never would have.
No, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it was talked about a lot on the Reddit because not only just the Reddit, but in general, the idea of, like, well, is this going to be a subplot? Because
well, no, not that. I mean, the idea that, you know, yes, we predicted, you know, there's a brother, right? That was predicted. Not, and then when the brother appears, one will be more like Dipper. Like, that's a little nice thing there, where even though
no, that's actually. I mean, we've been talking about that for months before it happened.
You were talking about the fact that not only is there a brother coming, but he will be more like Dipper and align himself with Dipper. And then the other will be more like Mabel, will be more like Uncle Stan.
Yeah, because the idea was that from the beginning, that Stan's brother was the author and thus was the science guy, was the adventurous one, was the techie one, so that he was the intelligent, more logical one, and that he would align with Dipper. And that meanwhile you've got Stan here who's more social, who's more out there compared to Mabel. And they're like...
I'll get season finale. Fuck it. I'm not going to watch it anymore.
No, because I'm not really taking credit for this because
not you. I mean, you read the Reddits and everything. Just tell me what they talked about. Tell me what the season finale is.
No, it's funny because like I think it's a credit to the community because I don't think I've ever seen, and I'm involved in this partially, but I'm not going to take much credit for it.
No.
But the community is incredible. And they're like bloodhounds with this shit. And it's incredible because I have never, ever... I know it's the age of the Internet, so this is something that is kind of like the perfect storm of a show that's begging us to do it and people jumping on it because of the Internet, and then, you know, social media like Reddit and Tumblr that can organize the people.
Right.
But, like, it's never happened this way. And I kind of love it. I really do.
It's nice.
But, you know, on that topic, though, it is kind of cool that they've got, so we got two pairs of twins, and now we've got these parallels between the main characters and the two brothers here. And that's scary, because we don't know what's going to happen there in terms of, you know, Dipper is now getting close to, I think the Stanford and Dipper relationship strikes me as a bit more significant in the moment, because, one, we've seen Mabel and Stanley interact for a while. So, like, we kind of know where they are, what's going on there, and we can identify, like, okay, there are some, you know, parallels. And with the backstory that we just recently got with these mid-season finale coming back, like, we can see these parallels, right? With Stanford and Dipper, I think it's interesting because, like, he shows in Dungeons towards the end, you know, since I am skipping a little bit here. But the idea, He's willing to trust Dipper a lot. He's willing to trust Dipper more than he trusts Stan. And that's an interesting thing. Because, like, Dipper's 12. All right?
But I think it's because of the depth of Dungeons, and more Dungeons. If that didn't happen, I think it's a bonding thing, and I think it's also because of how Dipper has been so, there's a lot that we don't see on screen. I assume that he's just been hounding him about the journals and things like that. And I assume that's kind of why he's like, you know what, I trust this kid.
Yeah, I think there's obviously something of you there that you're right, you're onto something here with the idea of Dungeons and Dungeons, like, creating more of a bond. Because even when they started the game, Dipper, threw some questions at him early on. And he gave him, he derailed him with the infinity-sided die. But he didn't really give him an answer. And it was only until the whole thing was over that he basically, admitted to the fact that he got excited because he's got a friend, which is kind of hard to think about. I mean, wow, 30 years, he hasn't had, like, a real friend, according to him. Essentially, that's what he's saying. And then he reveals this ridiculous plot point to Dipper. Ridiculous in the sense of, like, oh, my God, not like, wow, that's bullshit. But I just think it's really interesting. I mean, not only the parallels that you point out between, like, Stanley and Mabel and Dipper and Stanford, but the fact that now the relationships, I mean, if Dipper's getting that close to Stanford and Stanford doesn't trust Stan or Mabel, anyone else with this kind of stuff, how is that going to come into play?
There's a lot that can happen here, and I'm very, very happy to see it because, again, if you said this is an episode I skipped, you miss the dark matter or the possible dark, the possible. It looked like dark matter. Was that what it means?
Are we discussing the end?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a dimensional rift. It's a dimensional rift.
Yeah. The point is that, you miss that, and then you also miss this. So later on, when in a big episode that actually matters, when it's going to be like, see, we've been, this has been tearing us apart forever. You're going to sit, someone's going to sit there and go, what do you mean? I haven't seen that at all. And then all of a sudden they're going to post about it on the internet, and everyone's going to rip them to shreds because it's like, what do you mean? It was in this episode, and this episode. Wait, wasn't that filler?
That would be funny. But yeah, it's really like this show is armed with subtlety, and they're great at it. So when you pay, it makes me pay attention to everything. Yeah. And I really appreciate that. And I really hate it at the same time because I can't take a fucking piss break. But I really
something interesting. Speaking of the subtleties and the whole paying attention.
Yeah.
So I was watching the Carpe Diem episode today.
Ah, that was a good one.
If you remember, or if you've seen it recently, in Carpe Diem, not only when the door opens does Stan see a pair of glasses and takes them.
Yes.
When Stan is sitting downstairs and Baby Fights is on, he's kind of like looking down at the glasses and holding them, and it looks like he's reminiscing. Yeah.
Yeah, that was part of the and also like so that was one of the whole things of the theory because like those glasses, right? Those are not his, obviously, because they don't fit his frames. What doubles up on that, if you go way back to the time traveling.
Of course, that's the big one. That's the big one that we always talk about on the show, even.
Yeah, if you look at the person who's outside of the Mystery Shack in that time traveling one, he has the exact same glasses that are on that counter.
Yes.
Which is fun too.
It's just that before you think of that theory, you just think, oh well, I mean that's just a younger. Because you've even seen Grunkle Stan in his younger days. He kind of like has that. Because I mean, it's funny. He has that same look. Matt, they're twins. Exactly.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, they look very much the same. But there's subtleties in the design that the creators of the show really worked on, and I appreciate that.
And you can tell more now that they're both
the glasses frame was a big thing. And if you look back, I mean, there was enough evidence that we used to just eat at it all the time. I mean, I loved it. The fact that if you look in the boxing flashbacks, there's a kid sitting in the stands with the exact same headgear reading a book with the exact same body model. Or the fact that, his name is Stanford, supposedly, but his car was the Stanley Mobile. And, stuff like that always fed, there is more. There is totally more to this.
So speaking about all the stuff that's been juggled in this episode, what I like is I really feel like they gave enough time to each and every thing that they, some might say they put in too much. They put in D&D and finale for Duck Detective, and and then trying to build.
I'll be one of those critics. I felt like there was a lot in this episode. Like
but
I wanted more time.
Paced everything well enough. The only thing I think they didn't really, talking about character development, I don't think they developed the villain so much, but to be fair, we're never going to see them again unless Bill summons them or something along those lines. So
yeah, I'll give them a pass on that. I don't know how to describe it to you, Matt. I'm just being honest here.
No,
this is an
there's
opinion,
a lot.
right?
Oh,
yeah.
no, there is a lot.
There's a lot in the episode, and it felt like, okay, but it's not a thing where, like, I'm going to sit here and tell you, oh, they could have done X better. Like, it just felt like there was a lot in the episode, and I wish there was more time.
Oh, so you wanted things expanded?
I think also because, like, I really enjoyed it.
Okay.
And, like, I was hoping for a little more. Like, everything progressed really quickly for me.
I love that sentence, though. But all the other episodes, you sit there and you go, man, I don't want any more of this.
It's funny. For me, I think a lot of the other episodes, I got my fill. So we're
fair
good.
Enough. Okay. Yeah. I think that, I understand. This could have been a two-parter, but to be fair, again,
No, I didn't do a two-parter, honestly. Like, it's Philly, I'm just saying, like, there was just a lot for me to freaking take in because we had the Duck Detective subplot. We had all this stuff. We had the the opening scene with the giant octopus creature thing, there was a name for it. I'm so sorry.
The small one. Well,
yeah.
Depending, yes.
But, like, so there's that. There's the octopus thing. There's D&D and more D. There's Duck Detective. There's Seuss's F-Corp. There's...
That didn't count. That's not a plot.
That's a plot. There's
nothing.
There's the actual Duck Detective episode, and then there's the whole... and then, of course, like, the further on of, like, the Infinity Sided Die and the follow-up, of course. Like, it's just a lot of freaking things. And not in a bad way either. Not in a bad way, I have to be honest. It's just like, oh, my God.
For me, well, of course I want more from this one and every single one. I feel like it just went very well and flowed because of the fact that they introduced things, but we're in a world now where these things are commonplace. If this was in the first 6 episodes, then I'd be furious.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I will definitely give you that.
Yeah, we're in a world now with that we've been with for a while where Ford is able to just say, hey, I have this. I mean, hell, jumping back to Carpe Diem for a second, it was just there in a random room because Ford said, oh, I'll have this here and I'll test it, and then probably thought, you know what, I'm not going to fucking do this anymore.
And F-corping is accepted.
Right.
F-corping. I'm sorry, I just really like that as a phrase.
I'm just going to call it LARPing, sorry.
No, I really thought it was funny, because, like, I know that, like, Byron Saxton made that reference in WWE recently. But just, because LARPing is, live-action role-playing, right?
Correct. And it is better than that, in the sense that I know people who LARP. I've seen actual LARPing events and things like that. I've never been to one myself. But, yeah, what did F-Corp stand for? I don't remember. I just saw it today, but I just sat there and I went, I'm going to call it LARPing. But it was something like LARPing, though. As if LARPing is copyrighted to the point where it's like, no, we can't call it LARPing.
We can call it LARPing, right? All jokes aside.
No, we can't. I meant like Gravity Falls, going, we can't call it LARPing. We must call it florping. And then everyone who LARPs will be like, damn it. They just said that. But speaking of the LARPing, too, by the way, and this I really enjoyed. So we have Sis that LARPs. We have Stan that still technically rolls dice, but in Vegas. And I love it so much because it's both sides, right? First off, going with Stan. So it's still, even though Stan is gambling, it's still not all that different because he's playing games, but of probability and chance, but they aren't, quote-unquote, nerdy. Right? But I like this because this happens a lot in real life, right? The idea that it's just, animation is like so stupid and silly and it's for kids. Unless, of course, it's like Family Guy, The Simpsons, American Dad, and Archer, because sometimes they swear and it's really funny. And, like, kids can't hear that. So, like, and there's blood, too, sometimes. so, they're for adults, and that's why I'm an adult, and I watch it because I'm an adult. I don't watch your stuff because your stuff doesn't have that, because my stuff, I'm an adult. And you sit there, and I know it just sounds terrible, but still, when you sit there and you're like, is that really what's just the only that makes it adult? That's only, does it have to have, like, as much as I love Archer, and, and some episodes of Family Guy are good, and I'm a fan of American Dad, still, and of course, we all love Simpsons for the most part, but still, I think you understand my point, though, Satish. The idea that, it's like, what about a well-crafted story? Yeah, I like that too, but, like, when there's blood and there's boobs and stuff.
No, I mean, it's just funny, I think, that they made fun of not only themselves, but also just the criticism of the show. Like, Gravity Falls is a show that we're in our early 20s. We can watch the show.
Yeah,
anyone of this, it's not just us.
Yeah.
Like, anyone who is in that age can probably watch it. I know of a lot of adults who watch Gravity Falls and find it enjoyable because of, one, references to Twin Peaks, because there are people, like, who've got about 10 years on us who were, like, Twin Peaks fans. And they enjoy that genre, so they enjoy this because...
I know people that have seen the show and they're in their 40s and they enjoy it. And it has nothing to do with, being immature or whatever. I mean, it has I know it's funny. It's like, are you trying to really just, like, justify yourself in a podcast? It's like, well, first of all, for something...
No, I'll do it.
Right?
I justify because I think this show and Steven Universe as well, because I make the same defense, are pretty far-reaching in terms of demographic. Yeah.
I mean, I do think you can get... about a good 75% of what's going on if you're a kid for both shows. But there is a 15% there that, a kid might not think about. And, and of course just not get certain references. Like, of course a kid, we shouldn't sit there and think that kids are stupid, because of course a kid's going to sit there and understand, yeah, that's his brother. Like, yeah, that's his brother. And, oh, no, she's sad because, like, of what's going on with that. Like, little things, yeah. But, of course, just all the references and all the 90s stuff, and things like that. I mean, hell, that joke about the 90s. Well, you and I love the 90s, being born in the 90s. We will still sit back and go, that's a very 90s thing for them to do.
That's funny. But, yes.
Right? Doesn't it make a lot of sense? They would take Dungeons & Dragons. If they didn't already. Sorry if they didn't, I don't know. But take Dungeons & Dragons and make it cooler in hip-hop. They would. I mean,
I don't know if they did, but by God, that was funny as hell.
2 examples off the top of my head. Technically, both of those aren't necessarily America, but one of them is. First one, the American, Ninja Turtles. Go Ninja, go Ninja, go Ninja, go.
Yeah, right. That was Vanilla Ice, wasn't it?
I mean, yeah, technically, I think it started off, what was it, late 80s, but it bled into the 90s, though. Right, the movies, because there were 3 of them. And then also, I'm pretty sure this was 90s, the Legend of Zelda commercial.
That might be the late 90s. Do you remember that one?
What?
That might be the late 90s. Might. I don't know.
I hope so. I would hope so. I pray now. I pray to Hyrule. God's in Hyrule. Hey, listen. Satish, hey, listen.
No, but yeah, I thought that was killer, by the way. Was something about, like, something with the cat and don't step to the wizard because the wizard don't play nice. And I was just dying.
Oh,
I was like, this is incredible.
The wizard don't play nice. Yeah. That's
probability.
Yes, but getting back to what I was saying before, I do enjoy that because, again, like, people will try to claim as if, what they watch is so much cooler, but they won't actually talk about story progression, usually, right? And that's what it's just, oh, yeah, like, I prefer rolling dice in Vegas. Even though it's still about rolling dice, it's still about probability. The only difference is, to be fair, you will win money in Vegas unless you're playing a D&D game for money. I don't know people who have, but it can't. I mean, as far as I know, it's not like it can't happen.
Yeah, I think one of the things here that, like, as you're bringing up this whole, like, dice game related to D&D and how Stan was acting, what was cool about it is that, I've made the argument before that Gravity Falls, the demographics should be us based on all the stuff. And you, of course, argue differently, that it's still for kids. And I've had to accept that argument more than once. Because I look at something, I look at something like, let's say this D&D episode towards the end, right? And Stan's realization as he's, like, learning what the game is that involves risk and imagination, and that he might enjoy it. And, Stanford saying, like, see, you might have had fun if you joined us, that whole thing. And I liked it because it was really just that underlying message to kids of don't knock it until you've tried it.
That's why Mabel was there as well. That was a way to kind of connect them with connect the kids, and then Stan was a way to connect the adults. It's why sometimes, you'll have this, like, superhero movie, right? And it's like, to us, right, we're like, some people might say, why the fuck is he saving a kid? Fucking, like, it's like, who's watching the movie? Like, like, who is the, like, the kid's going to look at the other kid and be like, yeah, that could be me. Iron Man saving me, woohoo. Yeah. Spider-Man saves me. He loves me, woohoo. Versus, oh, why is it always a kid? Like, I mean, like, this isn't a comic book. Like, comic books, I understand someone might say, like, most of the adults are reading them now, and that's why they're tailoring certain ones to adults more so than the kids. But when you go to a superhero movie, it's a family event. Sorry. But, it's kind of just like, that's why he's saving the kid. So I think they include them both as a way to kind of just attach yourself, your age range, where, like, the adults that are watching are like, oh, well, okay, right? Kind of like, all right, my kid's doing whatever, all right. And then the kids are watching, and they're like, oh, maybe it isn't so bad. Because I understand Mabel's initial reaction, because I can't say that I didn't have I didn't say those exact words, but, when you hear about D&D, and you're like, oh, man, that's so cool. Like, what do you have to do? It's like, well, sit here. You have to work with me on these things, and then roll dice. And even though I was with people who would create the funniest things in the world, like what to do with themselves. Like, I remember once someone rolled the dice and went, and now I go Super Saiyan. And it was like, damn it.
Oh, that reminds me, by the way.
Yeah.
Kneel before me, and dice roll. Snivel! I died. Because he had to roll the dice to decide what the command would be.
Yeah.
I was like,
no, because basically, like, 13 or up, and I had become a Super Saiyan. Like, friend Mike rolls a 13. Damn it. Fucking damn it. Mike.
No, like, all right,
so mad at Mike.
Yeah, it was fun for me in a way because, like, I have never played Dungeons & Dragons, and I have nothing against it. I've never known anyone who's played. So I think it was really fun for me to sit there like, okay, this is somewhat relatable to what I've heard about D&D, and the way that Stan and Mabel reacted is also relatable to what I've heard about D&D. So I was like, this is realistic in my head. I'm just being honest.
But
I think I would enjoy the game. I have to be honest, because Futurama made me think I would love it.
Before even mentioning Seuss, which I wanted to mention, even with Mabel, it's like the idea of, like, this includes imagination, right? Boom. You don't realize, it's like if you're in the right mood and you love imagination and creating these worlds and everything like that, it's like, why wouldn't Mabel enjoy it? Because, if you're a dungeon master or still, you're working with because I don't know too much about it, but the idea is like, if you are like Dipper or even like Ford, you're going to want to create rather than just be in the party, So because of that, it kind of made Mabel look at it and go, like, I have to think about my stat points as a person, as a character, and this and that, But still, the idea is once you're past some of that stuff that might seem like legwork, all of a sudden, like I said, you could be playing with some friends and really have some crazy times where it's just like, they're like, 20 or up, and I get to, throw out Bulbasaur. What? 20? It's like, fucking shit. And it's like, go, Bulbasaur! I choose you. Like, shut up. We hate you. It's a bit like if you really enjoy just being an idiot, because I love doing it too, so I'm calling myself an idiot. If you enjoy being an idiot and you're with the right crowd and everything, it feels like apples to apples, or Cards Against Humanity.
Yes, it's funny because I played apples to apples basically as Cards Against Humanity.
Yeah.
Where my friend basically introduced me to the game, and he's like, we don't have Cards Against Humanity, we're using apples to apples. I'm like, okay. And he's like, just try to make the most fucked up thing as possible, and you'll get points for that.
Oh, my God.
And it was terrible, because, like, I wiped the floor with the game the first time I played, and I was just dying, because I'm like, you've given me a weapon that you really should regret giving me. Because I can sit here and just write Mecha Hitler to everything. Because thank you, Cards Against Humanity. But
yeah, no,
that's a card, by the way. I'm not being a jackass. Mecha Hitler's a card in Cards Against Humanity.
They've made a lot of those, a lot of cards like that. But getting back to Seuss, I really want to talk about Seuss. No, I understand. No, I'm not offended because it's
your
a
response.
Card. Like, what are we gonna?
They've made a lot of those in my head. Oh my God. army of mega Hitlers.
Yeah.
Scary thought. But yeah, Cards Against Humanity is meant to be offensive. But swing it back to Gravity Falls.
Yeah. The reason why I keep on harping on Seuss so much, like, why do you care about this? I care about Seuss. Because it's funny because, like, I don't know about you, but I've heard for a very long time, before I actually got into high school and got into, you know, like, the real world, right? It was always, man, aren't nerds so great? Because, like, the jocks are always beating up the nerds. So these nerds are really, really good people. And then you get into high school and you're like, man, everyone's the same. Like, unless you go to a high school that is located in the 1950s, which does happen depending on where you are in the U.S. or in the world. But still, usually, for the most part, you know, at least my high school experience, I'm sure yours too, you would see some people that are athletic and they'd be like, yeah, I like Pokemon. And then you'd see some people that, you know, were quote-unquote nerds that you're thinking, oh, these should be the nice people. And then they're just being sexist or racist assholes. And you're like, whoa, maybe we're all not, you know, maybe we all share certain characteristics. Doesn't matter what you like, right? Yes?
No, you know, I agree with you completely. I think, if you go back to our 200th podcast,
right,
I spoke a bit, personally, about the idea of me learning sports to fit in with the guys. And to this day, I still know sports pretty well, and I find it to be a very useful thing in fitting in with people. But at the same time, I feel like within our circle of friends and just the people that I've run into, because they feel like I've achieved a balance in life in terms of the stuff I like that's quote-unquote, like, say, nerdy or jockey, I don't get bothered, and I'm lucky because of that. Because, like, I can give you, like, the world of baseball, but then I turn around, it's like, yes, I podcast about wrestling and anime, and I play Pokemon, like, all the freaking time, and I have played Yu-Gi-Oh! Competitively. Like, it's just really, but I think that it's becoming more of an accepted thing in general to be a balanced individual. Yeah. Because, you know, there is a lot of crossover in, like, I mean, you have sports animes. And you have people in the wrestling business who are fans of, like, the comic book world.
My Little Pony.
There's a big, that's still a thing, by the way.
Yeah.
Biggie. And Biggie's huge as shit. But
no, but I only bring it up because of the idea that, you know, Seuss, right, who is a nerd, is going to sit there, just like, you know, and it happens in our communities as well. And he'll sit there and he'll say, oh, yeah, D&D? Nah.
I think it's the funniest thing, by the way, because I've definitely gotten that, too, where it's a thing where like, you know, I'll get called a nerd for, like, playing Pokemon by someone, let's say, who plays D&D, or the reverse will happen, where, like, let's say, you know, I'm playing Yu-Gi-Oh!, or, like, you know, and I'll get called a nerd by someone who plays Pokemon. And it's like, but I do that, too. It's like, I do that, too.
No, what's even funnier to me is, well, they're two completely separate games, and I understand that. The idea of, like, you know, a card game, not trying to say that Magic is a children's card game, but still a card game, right? And it's just like, I'm playing Yu-Gi-Oh! I play Magic, all right? Or, again, the reverse, too. So, like, you play Magic, how about you get some real competition over here with some Yu-Gi-Oh!, okay? All right? We have Magic cards, too. They're called spell cards now, but still. And
that's funny.
Like, right? No, because in my head, I still have some original Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards that say Magic before they were turned into spells. I'm sure they're worth one extra penny. But anyway, I still like, but you understand that, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with LARPing. I don't think they were trying to say that LARPing is sillier. They were just trying to say, like, so the LARPer
I think they were mocking. It's a social commentary, like you pointed out. The idea of, like, I enjoyed this activity. And you look at and there's like this whole idea of, well, I'm less nerdy than you, so I can make fun of you. And I say that with that intonation because it's so confusing to me. Like, where's that coming from? The idea that one activity is by some, you know, like, I have seen LARPers who are in much better shape than I am right now. And I have seen people who play video games only competitively who are in much better shape than I am because their life is gym and video games. And so, like, and then they're, like, it's just really, it's funny if you're going by, like, physical, like, stuff. If you're going by, like, life entertainment, I mean, I don't dedicate myself to as much stuff anymore, but I still find a lot of fun within like either going to a baseball game or freaking sitting down playing a video game of baseball. And you're the same way. You know, you have a lot of different interests, and you like a lot of different things. And
I think it's funny.
I think it'd be really hard for you to like rank them in your head, right? In terms of like levels of.
I can only rank them in a way that assholes would rank them, in the sense that, like, you know, like I've watched foreign films, you know, in different languages, and of course I've also watched, you know, Japanese, like, animated films and series and things like that. So the idea that, you know, it's just like, you know, someone saying like, oh, I watch foreign films all the time, you know, Pan's Labyrinth, I mean, you know, all these other like French films, and they're really, really cool. So you said you watch foreign films too? Oh yeah, I've seen, I've seen some Japanese films, some really good ones like Paprika, you know, and I'm trying to think of it right now. It was really good. It got turned, you know, it was the one that got adapted into Black Swan. Perfect Blue. Like, that's what I watch, right? And they're like, animated? Okay, right. So you're going to watch your Japanese children's shit, right? Your Japanese, you know, your sex stuff, whatever. And see, I'm going to watch my cool French films. Peace. And it's like, like, literally we both went for foreign film, but because one was either animated or just because it was a different language, all of a sudden it's just like, right, okay, you weeaboo, yeah, you probably want to go live in Japan, don't you? It's like, and you wouldn't want, first off, I don't want to, you know, because I'm, like, I love anime, but it doesn't mean that I just think that, you know, Japan's the greatest place in the world. But then you talk to that person, and the person says to you, while smoking a cigarette in the dark, the thing about France.
I do think it's interesting because, like, I've had, like, a series we've watched together. I believe the correct name is Gosei Sentai Dairanger.
Correct, the tokusatsu
right?
That's coming out.
Yeah.
Shout Factory is releasing the DVD. Anyone who's interested in tokusatsu, Japanese superheroes, where Power Rangers came from, Super Sentai, check that out. Anyway.
Yeah, Matt's not paid to promote that. He actually just really likes it that much. And I do, too, to be fair. So we saw Dairanger, and I know that, like, we can't bring that to a lot, like, everybody, because it's hard to explain, no, you're not sitting down and watching Power Rangers for 8-year-olds. Like, you're watching a series that happens to have been a basis for it, but has its own merit and story and, like, emotional depth. And you'll see, you know, fights and suits and mechas and all that, yeah. But it's really hard, I think, on the surface to convince people overall that they're not watching, like, Power Rangers for 6-year-olds.
And it's even funnier when some Power Rangers series have been made with such love and care that they can actually be watched by, you know, by people who aren't 6-year-olds. But again, of course, it's Power Rangers, and also mentioning the idea that, by the way, I want to mention to you, I know you know this, but I want to mention to the fans, because someone's going to start watching Super Sentai and then see all the shit and be like, but this is for 6-year-olds. Look, what we're trying to say here is, depending on what series you watch, and, you know, the idea is Japan has different standards than we do, so there are going to be certain moments where it is a kid's show. I'm sorry, Super Sentai is a kid's show. It's a kid. But I know you know this, but still, like, trying to, like...
Yeah.
But because of where it was
But not
made,
in the sense that we would call, like, something a kid's show here in America.
Yes. Because I think for us in America, we think kids show. We're sitting here like, yeah, you know, like we think like babies when we think kids. We don't even think like kids. We think like Barney the dinosaur. Like, for some reason, like, I feel like, nothing wrong with Barney the dinosaur, but I feel like when people, like, think kids show, they just go straight for babies instead of going for, like, kids that can think and talk. Because, again, I really do feel like we underestimate kids in America. So, yeah, you go for this idea that, like, oh, well, you know. And it's really funny, too, because I'm not saying that Power Rangers is on the level of, like, some Hollywood films in general, because I don't want to do that. Like, I really don't want to fucking do that. You know, I know what I'm watching. I'm watching B-level stuff, and I love it. But still, the idea where it's just like, Power Rangers? Okay, you watch your stuff for little children that all the babies are going to see, and I'm going to see my adult, gritty Avengers? What's funny is my brain told me DC, but I wanted to make it more outlandish and go, instead of going for Batman, go for Avengers. I hope it satisfied the joke.
I'm okay with this.
Yeah. But you see my point, you know, so I know we've been going on this for a while, but think about it. It's there. You may have even done it in the past. You may be doing it now, and you have to sit back and realize it's not getting you farther in life if you are doing it, right? Think about that, right? Like, if it makes you feel better about yourself, maybe do other things that don't involve putting other people down to kind of make yourself feel better, right? Like, 'cause think about that, right? Like, what is it going to do when you say, like, oh, okay, you watch your children's stuff? Like, I will admit, if I said, I will admit, right? And Satish, you can say whatever you want to about this, but if I told you, right, yeah, I'm a Barney the Dinosaur enthusiast. I go to all of the shows. I love watching younger Disney Channel stuff that's currently on right now, and I go to all their concerts as well, and I'm a 23-year-old dude. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. But if someone tried to say, but again, I can understand if you're just like, huh. Like, that's your first thing. Huh. Like, I don't judge you, Matt. But huh. Right? But even then, it's so like, but it's the idea of like, but is Matt hurting anyone? No. Even then, even in that instance where someone's like, man, that seems weird, but is he hurting anyone? No. Is he on trial? Like, has he ever been accused? No, no, and no. All right. Guy checks out. Person checks out.
Mhm.
That's the thing. Like, even then, even when your first response is, okay, right, that hesitant, okay. But look, I mean, again, as long as me, the Barney-loving Disney lover, isn't sitting here like, Game of Thrones is so stupid because it's like, Matt,
I mean, yeah, the general thing here is just like, we got to figure out a way, like, not us specifically. I mean, we do too. But the idea of just respect everybody's beliefs and interests. Like,
exactly.
the way I look at it is like, I'm not a religious man, but I use the phrase sinner. I'm a sinner, and I have made mistakes, and I'm not perfect. So who am I to judge? Like, anything. Like, I just can't. It's really hard for me to sit there and be like, how could you do that? And even stuff like that I know is inherently bad, it's hard for me to sit there and judge people because I feel like, people slip up too that aren't me. Like, everyone slips up.
Yeah.
So
now you can critique a show, by the way. We're not saying that, like,
yeah,
because I feel
like I critique a show. I'm not going to sit here and not give an opinion, but I feel like, it's a lot of, like, it's a tough line, isn't it? Just me being honest right now. Because, like,
I don't consider it too much of a tough line in the sense that you should be able to critique a show without, in what we just talked about right now for the last 5 minutes or so, critiquing a show rather than critiquing a person who is watching said show. As in, I don't feel like Barney the Dinosaur has the in-depth action and adventure that I want in my products. However, I do enjoy musical theater, so the singing, while can be fun, is not on the level of Broadway that I usually am interested in.
Are you secretly like a Barney fan? Because you're getting really fucking in-depth here, and I'm cool with it. I just want to know if you are.
I used to love Barney the Dinosaur when I was a kid, man. You have no fucking idea how many videotapes I had of Barney. That's have no
totally
fucking idea.
I don't know any of the names. I just remember Barney and a very, like, green dinosaur-type companion for him.
Whoa, Mr. Knickerbocker. Boppity bop. That's Bebop. That's what you sang on stage. Yeah, Bebop. What's really funny is there's Bebop, and then for some reason, because I think of Ninja Turtles, it's like, and Rocksteady. Wrong. What's his name? I don't remember the yellow one's name, and I'm so mad.
It's funny. It's just in my head. It reminds me of, like, the ghosts of, like, I think Pac-Man or Miss Pac-Man.
Hate you so much. Hate you so much. Oh, my God. Damn it. I think, though, the yellow one was voiced over by a voice actor I know from random anime. I think she was in Digimon. But anyway.
That's really funny.
But anyway, what matters is this, right? What matters is that, like, if you say that, someone should be able to look at you and go, all right, I understand, but I am a fan. Versus, wow, you watch that? That's the problem. Wow, you watch that? Doesn't matter what it is, even reality television. As much as we'll sit here and we'll criticize, reality television, still, the idea of, wow, you watch that is a little off most of the time because the problem is that, some people will look at us, right? And I feel like some people will look at our beliefs in this and they'll say, no, you're just trying to be so PC and liberal that you don't want anyone going against anything ever and you don't want to grow. And that's wrong. We love being challenged and having debates. I was on the speech and debate team. Well, an actor. I was on the speech and debate team, and I'm now a speech and debate coach. Love debates. But in a debate, you don't say, wow, you really believe that? Wrong. You have evidence. You back it up. Like, even when someone doesn't have evidence and says something without any kind of evidence, anything like that, you are not supposed to, as the opponent, say, wow, really? You just said that? No.
Because that's disrespectful.
Yeah, you do your thing, and then once you're out of the room, depending on if you're, doing, if you're just, debating one-on-one, or if you are doing, wow, come on, public forum. Dear God, I haven't done it all summer, so it's like tag team debate. Wrong, Matt. You've been watching wrestling all summer. Public forum. You know why? But you want to know why it's completely different? Because in public forum, you have to go 1-1-1-1, which technically is like a tag team. But
so what the fuck is duo? A single with managers match?
No, there is no duo. Remember, there's no duo debate. There's duo in speech.
No, I'm not talking about I'm talking. Yeah, duo speech is like a single with managers match because you can't touch. Like I don't know.
God damn it. No, but they both speak and they both. I hate you. No, but seriously, in terms of public forum,
someone who's in speech and debate is listening to this and laughing their ass off.
It's me. I'm the only one. No. But seriously though, when you look at wrestling and quote unquote professional wrestling, even though in storyline it is one-on-one, in storyline it's supposed to be the other guy or girl can get tagged in at any moment, right? But in public forum there is no tagging in. I mean, there will be 2-on-2, I'll admit, so it can become a tornado tag, but at first it's just speaker 1 on side on side A, then speaker 1 on side B, and then speaker 2 on side and then crossfire, and it'll be 1 against 1, and then grand crossfire, and then it's 2 against 2. I don't know why I'm explaining this all to you on the air. I think you enjoy it. I think everyone enjoys it.
That sounded like a Seuss line. Just like, I don't know why I'm explaining to you this on the air. It's like, that's a good point, Seuss.
But seriously though, it all boils down to how even speech and debate and stuff like that. It's just like no speech and debater should look at a person playing football and go, "You play football, really?" Unless it's going to be followed up with, "I'm worried about your health." When it's just like, "Oh, that's a nice human concern," right? But still, the idea of you play football. Why do you play football? You should be talking. It's like if I ever saw my kids doing that, I'd be like, "Come over here, just come on, come over here." And they'll look around and be like, Matt's going to say nice things to me because he always says nice things. And they won't know. They won't know what's coming next. Just, come on.
You talk. Just got pranked. But just some pranked.
Oh,
but no.
Oh, my God. But seriously, yeah, so that's kind of how it is with fandom sometimes. And I really do enjoy that they were able to talk about that. And another thing that fans would do that's very, very, more accurate than some people might believe if they don't know too much. The taxidermy turkey.
Oh, my God. I really enjoyed that entire scene because, it just felt like Etsy in a good way.
That's actually, thank you, that's perfect.
Although I thought the taxidermy turkey was they were making a bit of a mockery, but, it felt like Etsy, with the whole, duck feeder food thing. I was like, this is great.
Right. No,
and I say that with love because I love people on Etsy because you're all so freaking gosh darn creative.
That's
great. So I buy your shit.
It wasn't even just an Etsy thing. I think it was, of course, people on Etsy are fans. So, yes, it was an Etsy thing. It's just the general idea of, I wouldn't be surprised if, Alex Hirsch, delivery, what is this? Is this dipper made out of cheese? I feel like people have done shit like that, where it's did someone just carve out dipper out of a box?
I believe that completely.
All of a sudden, another delivery, same address, fuck, it's Mabel.
And next it's him.
And next is Stan. And then next is a letter. Thanks, asshole. I now have to make Stanford. Imagine that. Just wow, I got 3 blocks of, Dipper, blocks carved out of cheese, Mabel carved out of cheese, and Stanford pies. That's amazing. Gets one. Now I have to make the real Stanford dick. Sorry.
Whack Stanford.
But anyway, so jumping back into the episode, the moral of the episode was really nice because again, it made sense, and I really do Yeah, all jokes aside, it really made sense, and I'm happy that it was kind of like let's teach kids something, and not just kids, the adults something, because it's very accurate. I mean, there was a time where my dad wanted me to like be in sports and things like that, but my dad's also a huge nerd. He was, a huge nerd, and he loved like Back to the Future. He showed me Back to the Future for the first time, and a lot of movies like that too. So Star Trek too, and and Star Wars. So he loved Monday Night Football, yeah, but he also, was a nerd. So while he did kind of want me to be a bit more athletic, he realized at the end of the day, his words like, you're not hurting anyone. Like he was like, you're not. If you were on drugs, he said to me once as like when I was an older teenager, he's like, if you were on drugs or drinking, then I think I'd have to step in. Like, but you're not. I was like, and also there's a silence. I'm like, yes, I'm not. He's like, good. Because I thought he was going to come up with something next, but he was like, but you're not. And then there was a pause. Yeah, Dad, I'm not. Good. So, yeah. So it was just like, all right, yeah. So, I like that lesson. There's a general lesson of, hey, fans, stop shitting on other fans, and hey, people that aren't fans, maybe you'll like it if you give it a try. Maybe you won't. Maybe you'll never play Dungeons and Dungeons and more Dungeons again. But they tried it and they liked it. Also, a lot of the math puns were great. Loved him. Also, that Link, the hot elf, great. Yeah,
the math puns were good. I mean, the one-liners in Gravity Falls always get me. I just, he blasts them with the math ray. I'm not here to play games. Now into the Force for the ultimate game.
Yeah, no, this episode, though, something about it, at least in terms of one-liners, felt like it went over the top in the sense that it was like, you know what, we're in season 2, we have to make everyone stay. Like we have to go over the top. We have to top ourselves because something about this episode got to me. Just like, I'm going back into the game world. What are the odds? And I couldn't do anything. That or just oh yeah, I'm sure he's sleeping. There's no cops in the forest. We take this to our graves.
That made me laugh really hard.
Yeah.
Also, the fact that she just bashed the shit out of him.
Yes, I love Grenda so much. I love Grenda a lot, as a kind of different character. Her and Candy, I really enjoy them on this show a lot. But even the whole, it's like, how did you get past my one guard? Very accurate. All the time. One guard. Maybe two.
Really, another great one-liner, by the way.
But yeah. So, and before we, head off, I want to mention, there were some cryptograms, as always, right? It's only in this episode. There's never any other cryptograms ever. And I want to mention... What? Bring them on?
Bring them to me.
Yes. We have one in the end credits that said, which, after being decoded with the Vignere key, Vignere?
I'm not sure how to pronounce it either. Don't feel bad.
Vignere. It's the Vignere.
I usually say Vignere, but I think that's wrong too.
It's the Vignere key now. The Vignere key said Radmaster, which translates to Excelsi whatever. So there's which Radmaster into.
Well, no, Radmaster is the key, which is what you use to decode the rat.
Yeah.
So.
I was saying, Radmaster is the key, which I love that as a name, Radmaster. And then the cryptic in the episode, like in the actual the page with the infinite die, which is a wonderful piece of equipment, by the way. Love that Ford was able to get some stuff like that out of there. Like even if we never see, even though I think we will, even if we never see the outside world, the world that he was in, like in flashbacks or anything, I'm sure we will. But even if we never do, the fact that he has artifacts from it are really cool to me.
Infinite sided die is a really scary thing, though. I love the way Stanford explained it. The world could turn into an egg, or you could just roll an 8. Who knows? And I was like, that's funny to me. That's really funny. And infinity sided die.
Yeah. And then there is the one that appeared on that page. Fun and games are great distractions, but small things can have chain reactions.
I loved that one when I found out, and it really kind of
I think
scared
I told
me.
you about that one, right?
Yeah, it was
over the
available
phone,
really quickly.
You know, was it a month ago or something?
Well, we discussed it. And it was very, very quickly, and it was very scary, too, because that could relate to a lot of things. One of them being, of course, the dimensional rift, and that might be the most on-the-nose part of it. But lots of stuff happened.
Yeah. And, sadly, we are at the end of our show. But we would like to thank you guys for listening to those guys. Anything you want to say about the episode before we end it, Stish?
No, I respect what they accomplished in this episode with the amount of content, I will say. Their filler episodes are pretty freaking, I was going to say killer, and I don't want to rhyme. Good.
They're going to be several times. I feel like, all right, so what I want to say to end the show is, even talking about, we didn't really focus too much on the detective part of it, and I really enjoyed the fact that, I know we sort of said, oh, it's nice how they just talk about themselves, but no, I mean, the fact that he had a twin brother, right? The Duck had a twin brother, and then Goose was like, I called that a year ago.
It felt like that completely, but I also just died. It's just, the only person who can be detective is detective. Bang. Wah, wah, wah.
Wah, wah, wah.
Wah, wah. And I was like, fucking shit.
I was confused because I thought it was wait, did he shoot himself? And it's like,
no.
You
know what made me laugh so hard? He had the fucking stereotypical beard.
Oh, the goatee. The evil goatee.
Yeah, I couldn't.
Other goatee, yeah.
Still thinking back at it, it makes me laugh. They gave him everything.
It makes me happy because, what makes me really happy? The idea that Duck-tective, right, well, it looked like it started off as, a joke on these crime dramas and everything. The fact that, they can use it any way they want to, so while it could have been interesting if they made up a new show, it was, again, a little tiny nice continuity thing, where it's just Detective has come up before. Everyone either has gone nuts and just loves Duck-tective and it's just, just talks about it all the time, or they just fondly remembered it and they moved on. Because Duck-tective has only appeared, I think, once or twice, minus the fact that I remember there was a Duck-tective shirt in Hot Topic. In their version of Hot Topic. Yes. So it doesn't appear so much, but it's there enough where it's just, hey, season finale of Duck-tective, and boom. So yeah, I was a huge fan of this episode. Even though I understand, I will admit, you look at the episodes before it, and you're just coming from that mid-season finale, and you sit there and you think, man, what's coming up next? And it's like Dungeons are more Dungeons. This is going to be fun, but it probably won't be plot heavy, and it wasn't. But
the follow-up to this episode, as we're finishing this up, happens to also be filler in a way. Yeah,
but the thing is about both episodes that I really enjoy, right? Not going into the next episode too much until our next show, but still, the thing about both episodes is I really, really enjoyed the fact that they both set up pretty huge things. That, again, if you choose not to watch the two episodes, if there's a problem with dark matter, other universes in the future, you're going to claim on a message board or on just general internet, and I'm sure it's happened before because in our, I don't want to talk about these kids today, but still in our generation, I can talk about our generation. In our generation, I feel like, and a little bit younger, I feel like there's this need of going, all right, as if we, I know, life is important and time is precious, but so precious where it's just okay, I got to read through a series, right? What's worth it, quote unquote? And it's what do you mean worth it? You watch something. No, what's worth it? What can I get out of? As if it's just I can't make this huge commitment with these seasons. What can I get out of it? What parts of it can I get out of? And it's well, if you skip these two episodes, dark matter stuff, or general pocket universe stuff, rips in the universe, along with a possible Gideon return, talking about how mad he is even more so than usual. You're going to sit there and be these came completely out of nowhere. Alex Hirsch must be pulling it out of his ass. And it's you're basically, look, you might only sound stupid on the internet, but you still are exerting enough energy to be stupid on the internet, and then people are going to comment on it, exerting their energy, and it's stupid. Just watch the fucking show. Enjoy it. It's a good show. If you don't enjoy it, don't watch it.
You just seem angry.
No, I'm not angry. It's just like, again, we live in an interesting time, where you can technically get an entire show without even watching it through summaries and things like that. Or just go, I want to skip the episode entirely and not watch it. And then if there's plot or character development that you may not know about because all you did was read a summary, you might miss out on a lot. And then again, the idea that you start to criticize something, that happens all the time. But still, it really does suck sometimes when it's like, I'm criticizing something even though I didn't watch all of it. Right? Like, I saw 10 minutes of a movie, and the 10 minutes that I saw was terrible. Everything about it just didn't work. There was no good, clear end in sight. Movie's 2 hours long. It's like, yes, in the first 10 minutes you might not know about the movie.
Bingo.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. But anyway, so we're going to end the show right here. Thank you all for listening to those guys. I'm going to do my little thing right here talking about all the different social media accounts that we have, and we have a lot. But guess what? It's okay, because those are where we post our shows, our wonderful, wonderful shows. So we have ourselves our website, which is thoseguysintheradio.tumblr.com. What do we post on there? A lot of different stuff, a lot of stuff we mentioned even on the show itself. We've done WWE pay-per-views. We've done WWE Monday Night Raw podcasts. We've also done Gravity Falls. Right? We have done the show we're doing now. We've also done Steven Universe. We've done Dragon Ball Z movies and Dragon Ball Z original video animations or original animated videos, shortened to OVA and OAV, essentially Dragon Ball Z specials. We've also done Dragon Ball OVAs and Dragon Ball movies. We've also done Bleach movies and Bleach OVAs. We've also ended up doing Gotham, Arrow, Flash, Walking Dead. What's funny is, usually in my stick, I'll always insert Gravity Falls and Steven Universe here. So I hear it in my head, and I'm like, no, not now.
Steven Universe?
I said Steven Universe. Not now. But Mike Tyson Mysteries. Steven Universe again.
Good decision.
Mike Tyson Mysteries, Black Dynamite, and the Pokemon video games, and many, many more. Again, you can locate these in our archives on thoseguysintheradio.tumblr.com. Also, you can locate them in the archives through our iTunes, which you can search up Those Guys in the Radio or just Those Guys on iTunes, and you'll be able to find our archives through there. Also, we have, where we post our new episodes, not only through our website, but we also post them through our Facebook, which is /Those Guys on the Radio, our Twitter, which is @Those Guys Radio, and our Instagram, which is /Those Guys on the Radio. Also, both Tish and I have exclusive content on our Bandcamp account, tgotr.bandcamp.com, where you can find 2 of our shows that we've done thus far. We've done both WWE SummerSlam 2005, where Hulk Hogan fought Shawn Michaels, as well as WWE Unforgiven 2005, where John Cena fought Kurt Angle for the WWE title. So these both cost, they're the low price of $1. That's right, low price of $1. You can buy it for $1 or more to not only support us, but also to hear this exclusive content. And if you're wondering where to watch those pay-per-views, of course, you can check them out on the WWE Network. I have to promote them to promote us.
It kind of sucks. They should give us like $1.
Yeah. But
you spent so much time promoting the network when it first came out.
I did. I'm going through the old podcasts because I'm putting them up on our YouTube, by the way. Our YouTube, you can search it.
Do you hear yourself?
What?
In these old podcasts?
Yes. Because I have to slide some certain things out of some things.
No, I know, but I'm asking, you do realize what you sounded like.
What?
No, I mean, you promoted the hell out of them.
Oh, I did.
Every episode, it was just and the WWE Network.
And right now I'm trying to promote our YouTube. By the way, speaking of YouTube, the stuff that we upload to YouTube, our older podcasts, when you search up TGOTR, you'll be able to find our account, and we're constantly updating it with new shows, kind of updating ourselves. And, yeah, we have a lot of our shows and playlists on there if that's how you get your media.
Which is pretty cool, I would say.
Yes. So, we're going to end the show here. Thank you guys for listening to Those Guys. Say goodnight, Satish.
Good night, Satish.